Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hey everybody, Aaron Newcomb here with another review for Before You Buy. I'm so excited about this one because it's something I'm really into, and we're going to be talking today about the Raspberry Pi Model A+. This is so exciting to me because I do so much work with building things and making things, and almost every project I do, it seems like these days, is based on the Raspberry Pi. Now the Raspberry Pi Model A+ is the 4th generation of the Raspberry Pi, and you can buy it right now online for only $20. This is a fully functioning computer for those of you who aren't familiar with the Raspberry Pi. So it has video out, it has HDMI out, so you can plug it right into your monitor. It's got USB connection. It's got audio out. It's got storage in the form of an SD card. It's got onboard memory. Everything that you would have, all the components you would have in a basic computer, a desktop computer, laptop computer, they're all right here in this tiny, tiny platform. And like I said, it's available for $20, which is a huge plus. Now, if you don't know much about the evolution of the Raspberry Pi, I've actually brought some in so you can see real quick before we get into the specifics of the A+. Raspberry Pi started out with Model B, actually. Model B, unintuitively, was the first one. And it's about the size of a business card, a little bit bigger than a business card or a credit card. And then they came out with the Model A. Then they came out with the Model B+, which added a lot more GPIO pins, more USB connections, as well as an efficient power handling mechanism so that they're actually able to use less power for the Pi to operate on, which is why they could add in additional USB ports. But then just a few weeks ago, they came out with the latest and greatest model, which we want to talk about today, the Model A+. The great thing about this is, just like the Model A before it, it does have less memory on board. It has fewer USB ports, but essentially, and it has no Ethernet. But essentially, other than that, it's just like the Model B+. And because they took off some of those components, they were able to shrink this down into an almost square shape. Not quite square, but almost square. So if you can see the difference here, this is the Model B+, this is the Model A. And if I hold them up together, you'll see the difference here is actually considerable. All this that's left over here is the extra space on the Model B+ that they took off for the Model A. So what you can do with this, boy, just about anything. The great thing about this, I complained about the Model B+ when it first came out because I really wanted just a Model B with more horsepower, and they didn't give me that. They gave me other things which were great, but they didn't give me more horsepower. But I don't have the same complaint with the Model A because what you're going to use the Model A for are those small embedded projects where you don't really need the horsepower. You're not going to use this, for example, probably to do a retro Pi-Cade project where you're doing MAME emulation and all of that stuff. You could, but it's probably not going to be your first choice. You might use this to set up a little weather station, for example. You might use this to set up a CCTV system that is basically just recording a little bit of video and not doing much of anything else. You might use it for maybe a project where you need to have rudimentary web input, for example, like a robot. You might code up a little web interface so that you can drive your robot around. This would be perfect for that because it doesn't require a lot of CPU or memory resources. So I'm okay with this not being upgraded from a horsepower or CPU perspective because of the types of projects that this is going to be used for. So that is the Raspberry Pi Model A+. I would highly recommend it to anybody that's interested in doing things with Raspberry Pi, especially if they're looking for small embedded type projects where you're going to tuck this away someplace, probably never really see it. You're not going to need the Ethernet or anything like that. You just want it to run some servos or maybe run some LEDs or something like that. This would be perfect for that. So pros and cons. Pros, obviously the size, a smaller size for those projects is fantastic. The fact that it uses less power is also fantastic because you can power more things. You could even hook up an external USB hub, powered USB hub to the USB if you needed more USB devices to power. So there's nothing wrong with that. And then the other thing is these 40 pins, they maintained these 40 GPIO pins that were on the Model B+. They brought those over and used those on the Model Model A Plus as well. So that's really good. They didn't cut anything down there because that's one of the biggest complaints people had with the original Raspberry Pi is not enough input and output ports to interface with. Oh, and also the best pro of all, I almost forgot the price. As I mentioned before, $20. So if you wanted to get a Model B Plus, you'd be paying $35. The Model A before this one was $25. They were able to drop the price of this down to $20. So it's super accessible, and you can buy it online today from lots of different sources. The only cons that I would say are if you did need some additional horsepower to do something, you may start with the Model A and then be a little bit unhappy with the performance. You may have to upgrade to a B. But again, if you're careful about what projects you use this for, you're not going to have any problems. And that Model B Plus is always available for you if you do need the extra horsepower. So my recommendation, obviously, on this one, as you can tell from my excitement, is a definite buy. Go out and buy one of these things, enjoy it, start a project. If you don't know what you're doing and you're looking for inspiration, certainly search online or get involved with the local makerspace. They can help you come up with some project ideas or fun things to do. Maybe get your kids involved and teach them about programming, about computers, and about doing fun projects at the same time. So once again, my recommendation on this is a definite buy. Thanks a lot for watching.